The overarching theme of the monastery is that while more and more people are increasingly becoming aware of the enormity and urgency of our collective predicament, with a pandemic and global warming being at the top of the list of symptoms, there is another dynamic happening, which is far less visible, but is steadily unfolding throughout the world and unfolding through individuals, as we're seeing tonight. And we call this the deep revolution, which is essentially a profound evolutionary course correction. It manifests, first of all, in individuals who find themselves called, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, to bring something new to birth in the world. And this is a very deep impulse, which will ultimately lead to the emergence of the evolutionary successor to Homo sapiens. Deep revolutionaries, we call them, are somehow inherently wired to kind of go against the grain of our dying industrial civilization and create something new. It might be new ways of seeing and thinking, new ways to approach the economy, new ways to approach social justice, new forms of business and commerce, new forms of technology, new approaches to food production, new approaches to our relationship with the land and with nature, even new forms of relationship with each other and with the sacred, and thankfully, new forms of leadership. And many of these new births we're seeing are quite radical. There's an enormous explosion of creative and generative and even regenerative energy that's being unleashed in the world today. And almost no one notices that this is happening because it usually seems to be occurring on a very small scale and often only very locally. We can't really call it a movement because it's happening spontaneously, apparently everywhere. But when we add it all up, we could call it a revolution, and we call it the deep revolution. And nothing in this deep revolution is about fixing anything. It's all about bringing in the new, including new approaches to healing, restoration, and regeneration. The deep revolution is a sign that an evolutionary course correction or evolutionary breakthrough is underway. And the most urgent need in this situation is for an unprecedented uprising of revolutionaries, deep revolutionaries, who are together yielding to the call to ensure that what is most precious and most sacred about being human does not go extinct, but instead comes to full realization, so that humanity ultimately becomes the fulfillment of the dream of the universe. Almost no one is talking about the deep revolution yet, but we sense that the most important role of the monastery is as a kind of incubator of the deep revolution, to serve as its spiritual center.